Counting down in 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Hey, everybody. This is Ben Maynard Program. Good to have you here. So, which one? We'll go over a little bit about the studio is still on the and music. So, yeah, today's October 10th, Tuesday. It's National Hug a Drummer Day. Yeah, Hug a Drummer Day. I don't know, who ever heard of that? We'll get into that. But we'll also have 5 fun facts I bet you didn't know. Oh, yeah. I like that intro music. It's not bad. It's pretty good. When I get this thing all dialed in, we'll be all right. I'm trying to get it laid out. Yeah. Nice. Nice. So anyway, welcome in. I'm a first timer with this, so you'll all have to be patient with me. But this is going to be a fun show, and that's what it's all supposed to be about. This is going to be fun driven. It's going to be guest driven primarily, but on the days that we don't have guests, you'll have me. Hey, what do you know? You'll be stuck with me, and we'll talk about a variety of different things. I'm hoping that some of you will interact with comments, maybe even call in. Who knows? We'll see how that all plays out. But a little about me. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. I have a love of radio, and I would say that my biggest influences in radio were Mark and Brian, who broadcast here locally in Los Angeles for 25 years on 95.5 KLOS, and they were amazing. And what I really enjoyed about them was, well, they were stupid like me. They did a lot of stupid things on air, and then they would share stories about their youth and the dumb things that they partook in. But when they would share these experiences, share their stories on and about experiences that happen on and off the air, they really brought the listener in. They would talk to the listener and not at the listener. And so I really enjoyed that. It made you really feel part of the program, part of the family. So it was a really nice thing that I think it's just a skill set. Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's something you could learn. Maybe I will learn that as we go along here, as I gain a little more experience in this. But this show will be about stories. Everybody has a story, and it doesn't matter if you're famous or not. Everyone has a story, and for those who can tell the story right, it can really be quite interesting. So it will be incumbent upon me to certainly ask the right questions and put the guest in a position of comfort and a level of comfort by which they will be willing to open up and tell their stories, and then make them interesting for you, the listener. And yeah, we'll move on from there. Whenever there aren't guests, like I said earlier, you're going to have a lot of me. I'm a music lover, love music. I love several different genres of music. I'm primarily a rock, I guess you'd consider classic rock and hard rock guy, pretty much to my core. But I expand my my horizons beyond that. I love a lot of pop music, certainly from the late 70s, early 80s. I guess you would say more of my formative years when I was growing up as a child. My high school years, I listened to a lot of top 40 radio, and it exposed me to a lot of different genres. Country music, I love country music. I like a lot of the old school or the old school country artists. So I'm not as into the, I guess what I would call the modern country. I'm not into what I consider to be hip hop with a twang. I like old school stuff. I like me some Kenny Rogers, some George Strait, Ronnie Millsap, and who doesn't like Dolly Parton? Um, that's where I come from. I love, like I said, I love pop music. I love all that early '80s new wave, the stuff that was heavily driven by MTV. I have a great love for disco. Great love for disco. Just it's good stuff. And when it comes to music, it doesn't matter what the genre is that you like. If what it is you're listening to really has an effect on you, if it really hits you right in the chest, gets you right here, gives you that feeling, then that's all you need. That's what works. So we'll probably talk a little bit about music as well on this show. I may talk about artists you're not familiar with, or if you are familiar, you may not have a great knowledge of them. So we'll be sharing some of that too. We're just going to have fun and see where this takes us, and try to grow a listenership, a viewership, an audience, and I'll try to certainly make you all a part of the family. We're all going to be in on this, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. so so that's just a little bit of what you have to look forward to. Um, so I did mention in the open that today is National Hug a Drummer Day, I believe it is. Let me get it up here. Let me see. Come on now. There we go. All right. So National National Hug a Drummer Day, and I'm going to move things around. I'm a novice at this still, so this is going to be one take. There's not going to be a lot of editing, probably no editing in this at all, because I want it to be as natural as it can come off. So you're going to get this show warts and all, and that's okay. I'm okay with it. So if I'm okay with it, you should be okay with it. And if my screw ups, however they come about, however many or few there are, if they give you a giggle, that's great. I'm happy about that. Um, I learned that if everything goes according to plan, it's great. And if the wheels come off, it's even better. So I'm perfectly all right with you know the mistakes, warts and all. So anyway, National Hug a Drummer Day. The history of National Hug a Drummer Day is celebrated all around the world in order to pay tribute to and show appreciation for the drummers and bands, because drummers sit at the very back of the stage. During performances, it is often felt that they do not receive the recognition that they deserve, and they are unable to take their place in the spotlight with the rest of the band when they are on stage. Hmm. Going back, let's see. This day started in 1984 and was the idea of a group of percussionists and drummers who were interested in celebrating their specific contribution to music. Now, the day has grown to include a large number of big drum manufacturers and percussionists who have become involved in recent years, and the popularity of this annual event is rapidly increasing, and it is celebrated every November 10th. Okay, I guess. So, what did I say? 5 fun facts. Bet you didn't know. All right. Number 5. Oh, wait. Hang on. Let's see. We're gonna do this right. Oh, let's get some music. Yeah, let's get some background music. Love it. Okay. Number 5. Pros often hold grudges against specific people. Pros are excellent at connecting people who are able to remember people for a very long time. This can be either positive or negative, depending on how nice you are to them. While pros can tell us apart, we find it very difficult to distinguish one from another. And I know for a fact that if I saw 2 pros hurt on a pole or a wire, I certainly wouldn't be able to tell who was actually protected. No way. Number 4, snakes can predict perfectly. Many animals are completely predict perfectly very much. Snakes, most snakes, sensing earthquakes as far as 75 miles. 75 miles. I'm looking over here. There's nothing to see. There's a light switch on the wall. There's nothing to see. But the camera's circuit. They can even sense an earthquake 5 days before actually occurring. And snakes sense it. They often leave their nests even if it's cold. All right. Fun fact number 3. The color orange is actually made with orange. Before oranges arrived in England in the late 15th century, there was no word for the color. It was generally referred to as yellow sapphire or red, depending on the day. I don't know how great that was. Fun fact number 6. In Switzerland, illegal to own just one individual. One, while this can sound like a small block of rising force, makes no sense. Guinea pigs are social animals and easily feel lonely and depressed. Basically, formed animal ability. The real question is to be asked is why is the law everything? We know it's not. Fun fact number 1, probably my favorite. Probably my favorite out of the bunch. I wish I had some fancy music to really dance with it up. Number 1. Banging your head against the wall for 1 hour earns 150 calories. Beautiful. But if you're not keen on losing brain cells, you might want to get this calorie burning a fast. A safer way to burn 150 calories is probably to take a Okay. I'm up for that. Right there. Oh, it just stopped. It was supposed to fade in and out. That's okay. Like I said, we're still figuring this thing out here. We're 14 minutes into the show. Now I'm hoping that on a regular basis, this show will probably run an hour. I would say at the longest, an hour and a half. We'll see. And it just depends on the week. Depends on how things go. Depends on what I have to talk about. Depends on your involvement. Depend on our guests' involvement as well. And so, there we go. So, okay, so I talked about music. And I talked about my love of music. I'll tell you some of my, 2 of my absolute favorite bands. If I had to say, if I had to say 1A and 1B, or 1 and 1A, it would probably be Journey and Kiss. And that would just depend on the day. I probably lean a little bit more towards Journey than Kiss, but I will say that I was a Kiss fan before a Journey fan. I'm a tremendous Kiss fan. I have been since let's see, I got my first Kiss music in 1977. June. I bought with my own money. I bought a cassette of Kiss's sixth studio release, Love Gun, and my father at the time, an old cassette deck, an old tape. It was just a cassette player, and it had a little handle so you could carry it around. Worked on batteries, so I would get the C or D cell batteries, whatever it was, and load them up. And I carried that cassette player with me around the entire summer, listening to Kiss Love Gun. I was familiar with who they were at the time. I believe I had seen, an uncle of mine, Uncle Scott, had he had an LP, the Kiss Alive album, and I was familiar with who they were. I hadn't really heard their music, and so uh, I saw this poster outside Lovell's record store in Uptown Whittier, where I grew up, and so I made the purchase. And like I said, I had that cassette player and carried it around the entire summer. Uh, Probably got all my friends sick and tired of Kiss by the end of summer, but that was my first love of, or that was my the that was the beginning of my love of Kiss. And they actually happened to be the first concert that I attended in 1979, November of 1979. Patrick Sorelli and I, who was a childhood friend and probably besides me the only other true Kiss geek of all my friends, him and I went to go see Kiss at the Fabulous Forum. His dad took us. Of course, I was 14 at the time. Patrick was 13. So neither of us were driving. So his dad took us to the Forum, and there we were in our loge seats. We were on Gene Simmons' side of the stage, but we were up a ways. They were fairly decent seats, and I was absolutely blown away. My first concert, period. Blown away by the show, presentation, production. Of course, we knew every song by heart, so we're singing to every single song. It was just a great experience, especially for a 14-year-old. Just mind blowing. But I would say my roots to my love of music go back to about 1972. My mother had a 45, and for those of you who are listening or don't know what a 45 is, just take a 12-inch vinyl record, and 45s were vinyl just like that, but they would only have two songs, one on each side. So she had the 45 of the Beatles single Let It Be, and we had this big console stereo in our family room. And when I say huge, I mean they were huge. Back in 1972, a stereo was actually a piece of furniture, and they probably, this one probably weighed 250 to 300 pounds. It was so, because this was real wood, and so it was, like I said, a piece of furniture. So she put that single on, and she sat on the floor, and she sat at a typewriter on the floor right in front of her lap, and drops the needle, and as the song's playing, she is typing the lyrics to the song on her typewriter. And it's just, I don't know, fascinating, I suppose, but on goldenrod paper, I still remember it to this day. I would take that goldenrod sheet of paper and I would drop the needle on that 45 all the time, constantly. And I would sing along to Let It Be using that goldenrod lyric sheet. And that was the first, not only my real first exposure to music, but also my first exposure to lyric sheet. You know, back in the 70s, there weren't too many bands that were including the lyrics with their music. But now it's pretty common practice. And if you're not buying physical music, you can look that stuff up on the line online anyway. So, but that's where the love of music really began, and then kind of progressed from there. My older brother, he's 9.5 years older than I am, and he exposed me to a band, Uriah Heep. Now, some of you may be familiar with Uriah Heep, and we'll talk about them some other time. But tremendous, tremendous band, tremendous band. Um, I got my exposure to Uriah Heep from my brother Jim. Thank you, Jim. And they are one of my all-time favorite bands to this day. They're fabulous. They still create new music. They just released their latest CD. It was earlier this year. I think it was right at the end of January, called Chaos and Color. It's really, really good. And then I think 3-4 years prior to that, they released, 2018, they released Living the Dream. And I just, when I put that CD on for the first time and listened to it, yes, I said CD. I didn't just download it or stream it. I do believe in physical copies of music, and I like to help out the artists that I enjoy. I like to support them a little bit. So yeah, I do. I buy physical copies, and there's something to opening it up, something about looking at something physical. And not only the sound quality on a CD it's absolutely unmatched. It's digital format. It is a digital format, and the sound is absolutely pristine. And CDs are bulletproof too. But anyway, so where'd I go with this? I can't even remember. Oh yes, Living the Dream. So you're right. They put out Living the Dream in 2018, and that's actually probably, I would say, that's probably top 5, maybe even top 4 Uriah Heep albums for me all time. It's just absolutely dynamite. But I digress. We'll move on. So I guess probably during my high school years is when I really became more exposed to the music of Journey, and I absolutely love that band. As I said earlier, it's one of my favorite bands of all time. Just the the obviously they started in 1975, and Steve Perry was not a part of that version of the band. He was brought in 1978 by the manager Herbie Herbert, who at that time kind of decided for the band that they needed a face of the band. And the musicianship at that point was stellar already. I mean, you had 2 members from Santana in Greg Raleigh and Neil Schon. And Neil Schon, the time he was in Santana, he's 15 years old and he's out touring with, a major musical act. Greg Raleigh was already a veteran at that point. Just, tremendous musicians. The other founding member, Ross Valerie, he had come from Steve Miller Band, and I think Ross is just an absolutely tremendous and underrated bass player. So you had the musicianship there, but there was no face of the band. And though Greg Raleigh he sang those tunes on the first three albums, Journey, Look into the Future, and Next. He sang all the lead on those. He did a great job. Has a great voice, very soulful, could be very bluesy at times. Um, they didn't have any radio hits, and as Herbie Herbert said, they needed a face. They needed a face to the band, so they brought in Steve Perry, and the whole world changed. The whole trajectory of the band changed immediately, and the rest, as you say, was history. So I was aware of the band in 78, 79, and actually, I'll be honest, at that point when I really started to get into Journey, I was unaware that Steve Perry was not an original member of the band. Now you can say Steve Perry is a member of the classic lineup of Journey, but not an original member. Um, but nonetheless, I took to their music immediately. As I said, great musicianship, but for a teenager, I have no idea. I don't know music. I don't know music and all the ins and outs on it. I don't play an instrument. I can't play a note to save my life. I have guitars hanging in my attic as we speak, and I can't play a note. So, um, but over the years, I've certainly come to really tremendously appreciate the talent and the musicianship in that band. And we all know that the band is not what it was 25 years ago, 30 years ago, but they were a force to be reckoned with then. Uh, and even after the departure of Steve Perry, when they brought in Steve Ajeri to take his place. And I absolutely loved that move. I just thought that was great. I'm sure there was a lot of coincidence behind that. But replacing Steve Perry with Steve Ajeri, it doesn't get any better than that. I love it. Um, and the way that Steve Ajeri was described by Dean Castronovo, who had taken over on drums at that point, which was in 1998. Dean described Steve as Steve Perry with a perm. So it was really great. They had a lot of physical similarities, a little bit on the look, uh, stature, the way that they would uh, address the crowd, stage presence, all that good stuff. But so with that, I don't want to keep you all too long. I told myself I would limit this first show, so I'm just going to get on this here. And what I am going to give you to end this show is uh, my top five Journey albums. I'm not going to rank them all in order, just because there's too many of them for one, and and I don't want to take up that kind of time, and I don't have them all in front of me either. So I'm gonna kind of wing this one and go off the top of my head. But I'm gonna tell you right now that, and I'm probably gonna surprise a lot of people too, because I think most people, if you had to ask the average Journey fan what their favorite Journey album is, it would probably be, I would say the highest percentage is going to be the Escape album, which is their biggest selling album. I mean, I believe it's a diamond album. So, and it's one that's got, Don't Stop Believing, Who's Crying Now, Still They Ride, Open Arms, four huge songs that they pretty much still, have in the set to this day. So, and if you ask I guess you would say a hardcore Journey fan, um, some people like to go back to either pre Steve Perry days or pre Journey hits the, not just the big time, but Journey hits worldwide popularity with Escape. They want to go back before that, just so they could say I was on the Journey train long before Escape, or I was on the Journey train before Steve Perry was in the band, that kind of thing. So people will, some people, like I said, especially the hardcores, they'll want to go back that far so they can show off their Journey knowledge. Um, but and those are good records. Those first three are really good records. I'm going to say right now that neither of those are in my top five. But so with that, I'm going to say that number five for me, and these are only. I'm going to keep these at studio records. Okay, just studio records, no live, which we know there's the Captured album, and then there's I don't know, I think it's Live Greatest Hits. Came out about 20 years ago, and they're all fabulous. But we'll just stick with the studio stuff. So with that, I would say my number five is going to be Evolution, Journey Evolution, which came out in 1979. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous album. There's something about just the I guess what I miss about the, if you want to call it the original lineup, I don't know, they went through Journey went through several drummers before they settled in on Steve Smith, and then he was only in for uh, 4 albums if you count, certainly if you count the Departure album, or I'm sorry, the Captured album. Then he was on 4. And you could say he's on 5 if you count Raised on Radio. I think he gets credit for playing on one song on the Raised on Radio record. So he would have been the longest tenured drummer at that time. They went through I think 2 or 3 drummers prior to, maybe 2 drummers prior to Steve Smith. I think it was Prairie Prince and Dainsley Dunbar. Or yeah, wait, I said that wrong. Ainsley Dunbar, yeah. Ainsley Dunbar. Sorry about that. Hey, first show. All right. So suck it up. Anyway, so number five is Journey Evolution. Number 4 is, for me, is going to be the Infinity album. Steve Perry's debut in the band. Great songs on there. Great songs. Classic songs that are in the Journey set every night. Lights, Wheel in the Sky. I wish the band would perform Feeling That Way anytime, the way it's supposed to be done, back to back. And they used to do that in their live set. And the way those songs used to be played on FM radio too. I wish they would have those. I wish they would include those songs in the set. I'm sure they do from time to time. And I'll be honest with you, everybody, I haven't seen Journey in 10 years. Last time I saw Journey live was in 2013. So, or 2014. That's when it was. So 9 years ago. Okay. So that's number 4. Number 3 for me is going to be the Arrival album. And it's going to blow a lot of people away. It's going to shock a lot of people. Okay. But Arrival was the first recorded album, full length album with Steve Augeri. And there's it's a little lengthy. I think it's off the top of my head, I think it's 14 tracks. But the number 1 track, or the track 1, the lead song, Higher Place, just absolutely, I mean, if you really appreciate Journey, if you really like the music and you appreciate that Journey sound, it's just something else. It really, really is. It's something else. And there's a lot of great stuff on that album. A lot of great stuff. Some that there might be 2 or 3 songs. It might be a little bit long. Maybe 2 or 3 songs that they could have done without, maybe saved for another album. But it's great. It's great. And it was a great way to represent the band with Steve Augeri, even though he'd already been touring, I believe at that point, he'd been touring for about 3 years, but a great way to introduce him to the fan base in the studio doing original Journey material, not having to perform the Steve Perry stuff. So that one's number three. Number two for me would be the Journey Escape album. That is my number two. Uh, it's a great album. As I said before, their number one selling album, Diamond album, 4 tremendous hits on it. And it's funny that Don't Stop Believin', which is one of the biggest downloaded songs in, download history, whatever it is, it's just such a huge song. At the time that album came out and was released, that was the second single, yes, released off of the Escape album. And it peaked at number 4, I believe it was, on the top 40. And everybody loved it. It was a great song. But it didn't have that traction that it does now. The song is so much more popular to this day than it was, 42 years ago when the album was released. It's amazing. And probably because of that, it's probably why a little bit why I put that album number 2. And it's no fault of the song, but there, for me, if I never hear Don't Stop Believin' again, I'm okay. I'm okay. It's a great song, but if I never hear it again, I'm good. What can I say? It's just one of those things. I think that FM radio has buried that song. They've burnt it to a crisp, and yeah, I just don't need to hear it again. And seeing Journey live, hey, give me something else. Give me 2 more songs instead of Don't Stop Believin'. Okay, so that one's number 2. Okay, and number 1. Oh, I should have set this up. I should have put on some music, set this thing up here. But that's okay. This is just the first show, and we're just having some fun with this anyway. And who knows? I don't even know if I'm going to post this show or not. If I do, great. If I don't, that's great too. But if I do, I'm probably going to repeat some of this material, especially the Journey Countdown. I'll probably expand it more, or whatever it is. I don't know. We'll see. But number 1 for me is going to be the Frontiers album. I love that album. I think the reason why I choose it a little bit more over the Escape album is it's a little bit harder. It's the way Steve Perry described it in 1983 when they released that album was he was singing angry. So there's a little bit of that. Although I do honestly believe, I'm not sure if I read it somewhere or if it's just something that popped into my head and I just kind of thought about it. But I also believe that the reason why Steve Perry sang the Frontiers album the way he did was not only because he was singing angry, but because the Escape tour the year before just beat him up, just beat up his voice. And I'll be honest with you, if you really go back and you listen to the Journey catalog and you listen to those first 4 Steve Perry albums, you can even include the Captured album, the live one, in that. So you'd have Infinity, Evolution, Departure, Captured, and Escape. So if you listen to those first 5 albums featuring Steve Perry on lead vocals, his voice is absolutely just untouchable. It's otherworldly. I find myself listening to the Captured album a lot because it's live, and it is live. It's not live in the studio. It's live. And there's a couple of places on songs there where you kind of hear, as I described what I'm going to go through, warts and all. You hear his voice go a little bit, but that's part of it. And I think that's what makes that so special. So there definitely was a difference in his voice going into the going into the Frontiers album. So he could have sang more angry. That's true. But I do think that it was just the nonstop touring, the 4 years prior to that, just really did a number on his voice. And if you go through the other two lead singers that the band has had in Steve Augeri and Arnel Pineda, the evidence is there that singing Steve Perry is brutal. It is so brutal, and it will tear you up. And that's why to this day, Steve Augeri is not in the band any longer. He got beat up, unfortunately. I loved him. I love his voice. I love his stage presence. Like I said, I love the way he handles a crowd, the way he talks to the crowd. He was just marvelous. And I don't want to go on a Steve Augeri rant right now. I'll save that for another time. But yeah, Steve Perry, there's one and there's only Steve Perry. And even he himself, had a hard time singing him. So I think that's where his voice really changed, was going into Frontiers. But I do enjoy that record. The songs on it are just marvelous. Songs that just never, ever get played. Track 6, Edge of the Blade, one of the hardest Journey songs in their entire catalog. It's just so great. It's just great. And I think Neil was on a mission on that album there to just get more away from, or get away a little bit more from his soulful playing, which he can play anything. Neil Schon is such an underrated guitar player, and he's just such a master musician. I mean, world class guitar player. But I think he wanted to play a little harder, and he certainly did it on that record. Like I said, Edge of the Blade, hardest song on the album. And the title track is wonderful. And then the track that ends side 2 is Rubicon. And it's just a great song. It just great songs through and through on Frontiers. Not to say that the other albums that I named in the top 5 don't have great songs. But remember what I said earlier about music. It's just the way it hits you. There's no right or wrong to any of it. It's all opinion. But that's where I sit now. Now, I'll tell you what, if I actually had time to prepare for this, I might have had a different answer. I might have said something else. I might put Red 13 at number 1. Does anybody know what Red 13 is? That's Journey's 5-song EP that they released in 2002. It's not on a major label. It's hard to find. So you won't be able to find it on any of the streaming services. It'd be nice if it was there, but that's a great one too. That's actually really, really good. I may be changing this pretty soon. Anyway, listen. So that's the top 5, whatever it was. I don't even remember. I think I said number 5 was Evolution. Number 4 was Infinity. Number 3, what I say it was? Arrival. Number 3 was Arrival. Number 2, Escape. And number 1, Frontiers. So with that, listen, we're going to call it a show for the day. I appreciate you listening in, taking the time. I won't look as haggard next time, I promise you. There might be a little bit of construction going on in the studio. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to have some fun. And so thanks for hanging in. And hey, this is the Ben Maynard Program. We'll see you soon. All right, everybody. So enjoy the rest of your week. And keep walking on and tell your stories, right? Everybody's got a story. Let's see if it's recording. I hit stop. having trouble connecting.